Let's do it, everybody. Hello. Happy Friday to all of you brilliant people out there. Those of you who actually give a shit, actually want to fix the world, and actually want to learn the truth about what the fuck's going on in the world. Thank you for being here. Despite all the suppression, despite all the censorship, we're going to continue to fight. And thank you for doing that with me. So, let's get into Trump's complete 180 on Ukraine in a matter of weeks. He managed to completely spin around. I'm going to play a clip of Netanyahu speaking to a completely empty UN after everyone walked out. Oh, so sweet, so sweet. Also, the so-called anti-ice shooting from a few days ago seems to be not what it seems to be. That was a perfectly constructed sentence right there. It seems to be not what they seem to be telling us it seems to be. So I'll get to that and so much more. Oh, and just for this is how insane our world is. That one of the side throwaway news stories is that Trump indicted the former head of the FBI. And I'll get to that too. Anyway, all that much more coming up right now. Click thumbs up, click share, click subscribe, even though it doesn't matter because I've looked at the numbers and YouTube doesn't tell anybody about my videos anyway. So do all that. If you leave a comment live, it'll be on the screen there. And yeah, let's just go. Let's just go, man. So Trump has made a complete 180 on Ukraine in the past couple of days. He posted on his Truth Social platform on Tuesday following a meeting with Zelensky on the sidelines of the UN. He said, "I think Ukraine, with the support of the European Union, is in a position to fight and win all of Ukraine back in its original form." Trump has never once said that. And of course, it's utter bullshit. I mean, if you know anything about what's going on in Ukraine right now, they are in zero position to win back all of the land that Russia has taken because it's a U.S. proxy war, and Russia understands that. Ukraine apparently hasn't gotten that memo that the U.S. is just throwing hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians into a meat grinder to fight Russia. But anyway, all that aside, no one actually believes that. But Trump has said he does suddenly, even though just a few days ago he was saying just about the exact opposite. Trump even mentioned NATO, which he has often criticized in the past. He said, with time, patience, and the financial support of Europe, and in particular NATO, the original borders from where this war started is very much an option. No, it is not. He also took aim at Russia, saying it has been fighting the war, quote unquote, aimlessly and looks like a paper tiger. A paper tiger, of course, being a reference to someone or something that appears intimidating but doesn't pose any real threat. And this is all polar opposite of what Trump said before and after his meeting with Putin in Alaska just a few weeks ago. You gotta respect Trump's ability to say completely opposite things in a matter of days. Because I've always been of the belief that, if I came out here and told you guys one thing one day, and then a week later I said the exact opposite, like a week from now, I just think Trump's awesome and he's doing a great job, and just totally cool guy, and he's not a sociopath, narcissist, megalomaniacal lunatic. If I did, I was always under the assumption that those people that used to listen to me or, used to care about things I would say would be like, I think either he's lying now or he was lying a week ago. Either way, this guy lies to us. I'm going to stop listening to him or thinking he tells any kind of truth. And yet Trump somehow manages to do that and still have all of the idiots that supported him continue to support him. They go, okay, so Ukraine going to win now. Last week I thought Ukraine lose now, but now Ukraine win. Okay, Trump awesome. It doesn't seem to lose. Any of his people still act like it matters what he says. I'm always amazed with that, whether it's Trump or someone else. People that can just be completely the opposite of the thing they were a few years earlier. Tulsi Gabbard or fucking Joe Rogan, on a lot of topics, or Russell Brand. It's like, All the people that used to think you were telling the truth, they just think the truth, all truth shifted just 180 degrees over the past few weeks? The fuck? I have been under the impression you should kind of tell the truth, but no, apparently not. Just fucking switch it once every few weeks. He said, let's see. Trump said the war would have taken a real military power less than a week to win. Another dig at Russia. So he was being aggressively insulting to Russia, which has really done great things for us. Really succeeded in winning this proxy war by just insulting Russia. Ukraine would be able to, another quote, take back their country in its original form, and who knows, maybe even go further than that. What, steal parts of Russia? Putin and Russia are in big economic trouble. Also not true if you look at the numbers. And this is the time for Ukraine to act. Trump closed his post by saying, in any event, I wish both countries well. We will continue to supply weapons to NATO for NATO to do what they want with them. Good luck to all. I love that he like there's two countries in the midst of a war that we created, and they're like murdering each other. And Trump's like, you guys just good luck. You do well out there. Go get them, guys. Good luck to both sides. A fucking lunatic. Good luck to all of you as you fight our proxy war and lose hundreds of thousands of human lives. Kremlin spokesperson Peskov said on Wednesday that Russia would continue to pursue its war aims in Ukraine to ensure our interests and achieve the goals. In an interview with Russia's RBC radio station, Peskov added, we are doing this for both the present and the future of our country for many generations to come. Therefore, we have no alternative. So here's back in February 2025. That would be this year. So not so long ago, Trump apparently was on different meds. His med schedule completely shifted over the past few months. So that explains a lot of it. But completely different meds. February of this year, he suggested that Ukraine would have to cede territory if the war were to come to an end. He told Zelensky, you have to be, oh yeah, this is when he kicked him out of the office because Zelensky wasn't being nice enough to him and licking his boots and or his anus enough. He said to Zelensky, you have to be thankful you don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved. So basically, you haven't got a shot. You're fucked. You need us. And you're toying with lives and toying with World War III. Now, a few months later, go get them, guys. Not toying with World War III. Millions of lives don't matter anymore. Dude, just total 180. And I'll leave it to you guys to decide. If you want to throw a comment in the chat, which one of these is the real Trump? Which one of these does he actually believe? Or does he believe nothing and it's just whatever was said to him that afternoon? He's like, thing I heard went in the brain hole and now I'll repeat it. This is August of 2025. This year, Trump stated that both Russia and Ukraine would have to cede territory to end the war. And when you say both Russia and Ukraine have to cede territory, he's saying the territory that Russia has gained, they would have to give up some of in order to end the war. There will be, and most analysts that I actually respect, that I actually think are telling the truth and are not just fucking exorcist head going around one way, speaking this way one second and this way the other. Like people I actually think know what they're talking about. They say that Russia is not going to back out of this. Russia doesn't want to be fighting this war again in a year, which is what they feel would happen if they just signed some kind of ceasefire and said, okay, just don't do anything naughty, U.S. empire. We'll sign a ceasefire and we'll back off a little, but you be good. Russia has zero faith in that. For some reason, Russia thinks the U.S. doesn't keep its word. I have no idea why that could be. And so Russia doesn't want to do that. So therefore, Russia's like, no, we're fighting this to the end. We're going to essentially take over the Ukrainian government. We're going to get rid of Zelensky. We're going to get rid of the Nazis who run the government. He is surrounded, Zelensky is, by the Azov battalion, who are legitimate Nazis. And they're like, yeah, no, all that's, we're uprooting all that. So this is over when they're gone. And that's not how things stand yet. So it seems Russia's going to keep fighting. Anyway, so this is, again, more from Trump back this August, which, for those of you who are keeping track at home, that's last month. This is not a long time ago. He said there will be some land swapping going on. He said that Russia has occupied some of Ukraine's very prime territory, and we're going to try to get some of that territory back. Here's a map of the land that has been taken by Russia, although much of it is a Russian population. That was part of what, led to some of this, led to the fighting starting in 2014 when Ukrainian Nazis were murdering Russian speakers, culturally Russian people in the Donbass region who considered themselves Russian. Because, again, nation states and borders are fucking stupid. They're a brain parasite that makes you think one thing is completely different than another thing. But the truth is Ukraine and Russia have essentially been almost one thing for years and years and years. And, of course, both part of the Soviet bloc. And so that line that is, this is Ukraine and this is Russia, didn't used to mean a lot. I mean, it didn't used to even exist at one time. Then it was there, but it didn't mean a lot. Then someone said, okay, it means a little bit. You have to have a passport, but we won't really... you can walk back and forth. Your grandma lives across the line. You can go see her all the time. And then it started to mean a whole lot, where it was like, you fucking come across this line, we'll shoot you. This line means everything. And if you even speak Russian on the wrong side of this line, we will murder you and your family. Like that. So that progression happened over many years. But there are many Russian speakers and culturally Russian people that still live in those regions. During the war, Russia has formally annexed parts of 4 provinces of eastern and southern Ukraine: Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia. Donetsk and Luhansk are collectively called the Donbass region in eastern Ukraine. Russia controls all of Luhansk and part of Donetsk. Russia controls about 75% of Kherson and Zaporizhia. The latter, an industrial area with steel, aluminum, and aircraft manufacturing alongside a large nuclear power plant. So a lot of Ukraine's resources are in that region. By the way, the U.S. also wants those regions to steal the resources because the U.S. has made deals with Ukraine. Hey, we helped fund and arm your proxy war that has killed like all your military-age men. What do we get out of it? Well, it's time you did something for us. So we've signed deals to, pillage their resources. So then here's Al Jazeera's view of why Trump has changed his position. Experts say Trump's shift in words might not translate to a shift in policy because he doesn't know his fucking ass from his face. Question: are they both orange? Do you think they're both orange? I'll leave that to the commenters. That's an important one, I feel like. Those of you who don't comment much, I feel like now is the time to throw that in there. Is the ass equally orange? Circle Home, thank you for donating. Thank you for supporting the show. And those super chat donations are more important than ever because YouTube, and I'm assuming this is fairly particular to me, although it may be a larger change in YouTube. You can look at the analytics and they literally will, they have, of the number of people they used to show my video to, that has been decreased by 80% over the past 2 weeks. So even though my numbers were already suppressed, censored, all those things, even though my original YouTube channel is still banned around the world, they have decreased that tiny number of people they let see my videos. They've decreased it by 80% in the past 2 weeks. Thank you again, Circle Home, for supporting the show. Some see Trump's new stance as a veiled threat to pressure Putin back to the negotiating table. Indeed, in response to recent incursions into NATO members' airspace by Russian drones. Although I also feel like, would that not be maybe Russian drones are in the NATO airspace, but would that not be the easiest false flag. Like NATO and the US and others have acts like they can make drones look like Russian drones. They can also just say it's a Russian drone. Like, would it not be super easy? Because I know some of them were over like a Denmark airfield, so they had to shut down the whole airfield in Denmark. Would it not be the easiest thing in the world to just say, yeah, it's Russian drones? Yeah, it's for the US to just fly some drones and say Russians are over NATO airspace, or Ukraine to do it. Seems like just an obvious, easy false flag. Circle Home is asking whether they suppress me when I say the words genocide. They very well, I mean, I know they're suppressing me because of my words. I don't know if it's specifically the word genocide. It could be a lot of words that I like to use. But back when some people had stopped saying the word, the G word, the G side word, I'd kind of decrease it a little bit, but I'm not willing to stop entirely, because I think then we don't get the true history. Like, if you aren't going to call what Israel's doing in Gaza the genocide, then you are just denying reality. And I've kind of centered my entire career, everything I've ever done, about not denying reality. Like, that makes me just gag. So I can't really picture a show where I don't say G-sad. The real one, the real version. Some see his new stance as a vague threat to pressure Putin in response to recent incursions in NATO members' airspace by drones. Trump also appeared to be in favor of a robust NATO response when he spoke to reporters. Asked whether he believed NATO countries could shoot down Russian aircraft that enter their airspace, he said, "Yes, I do." Trump reflects the point of view of this is from a Eurasia expert at a London think tank. He said, Trump reflects the point of view of the last person he's spoken to. Which is kind of just like a level of dumb. I don't think that's always true. But he does surround himself with asshole goons. So it's not like it's not like a leftist could walk up to him and be like, hey, you should give healthcare to everybody. And then he walks out there and he's like, I will be giving healthcare to everybody. Doesn't work like that. But of these goons, these fascist goons he surrounds himself with, some want to end the war in Ukraine. Some want to see Russia fighting endlessly. So it's very easy for him to hear one of them and go, that sounds pretty good. And then hear another one and go, okay, we'll do that. So, but yeah, it seems to me, if I had to guess, that it's coming from a bargaining standpoint. He's trying to pressure Russia. But part of the problem, I mean, there's multiple. One is that Russia's not going to fall for this shit. Again, Russia has been trying to deal with NATO's growth for decades, for a generation now. And NATO has proven that they will never stop trying to grow. They will never stop trying to push up on Russia's borders. The U.S. has proven that it will never stop trying to make Russia collapse in a variety of ways. So he's just not falling for it. So that's part of the reason you're not seeing like a peace deal in Ukraine, is because he's like, Russia has had enough of this shit. But another reason is that there's no reason that any country should ever believe anything the U.S. says. Trump's a crazy liar, but so is Biden, Clinton, Obama, Bush. Like, why would anyone believe any of these fucking idiots? These idiopaths. Okay, let's jump now. As a fun palate cleanser, let's jump to Netanyahu trying to speak to the UN, but it is just streams of people walking out of the speech. And for those of you listening to the podcast, which is called Moment of Clarity on Apple Play, look it up, Moment of Clarity on Apple Play, called The Lee Camp Show on Spotify. The voice you're hearing is the head of the General Assembly trying to get everyone to stop cheering and walking out.
Please, order in the hall. Please, order in the hall. Please, order in the hall. Please order in the hall and please be seated. Please order in the hall.
So, for those of you listening to the podcast, by the end of everyone walking out, there's like 12 people left in the UN audience at the General Assembly. Or I don't know really how many people, but it is almost entirely empty chairs. And even some of the people that are still there are clapping along with the people cheering, meaning that for some reason they have to stay in there. I guess their boss expects it or something, but they're still clapping with the people leaving. So even of the fucking 12 people that are still there for Netanyahu's genocidal, frothing at the mouth, fucking sociopath remarks, some of them are against him as well. Yes, Travers in the chat says we need to list who stayed. Yeah, probably it's I know exactly who stayed. It's those 12 countries that vote against a Palestinian state every time. It's U.S. Israeli representatives, and then a bunch of countries that the U.S. or Israel has power over. So it's like Argentina, Papua New Guinea, Micronesia, Nauru. Like those are the ones that stay in the audience and listen to Netanyahu's sick garbage. So thought you guys would enjoy that. And by the way, I should have set this up top, although I think it's part of it's that I'm like fired out of a cannon right when I start the show. And sorry, Eleanor Goldfield is not here. I know Friday is Eleanor Day, and it just sometimes schedules are a problem, and she couldn't make it. So I'm very sorry, but she will be back next week. And I want to get to, before I get into this anti-ICE shooting that happened the other day, not quite being what we are being led to believe. I just want to take a minute to say, if you guys could support the show, that'd be amazing. You can do it in a bunch of free ways, like listening to the podcast and giving it 5-star ratings. You can do that. It's again called Moment of Clarity on Apple Play, and it's called The Lee Camp Show on Spotify. I have at least one of those on my Linktree page. Maybe I have both of them on my Linktree page if you want to find them that way. But, go there, listen to it on a car ride, and then click the 5 stars. That makes a difference. I don't know every platform, so I don't know if some of them have ways to subscribe for free, so you find out about new episodes. But yeah, this show comes out 3 times a week, so you always have new content to listen to if you'd like. That's at linktree.com/LeeCamp. You can probably find those. Another thing you could do to support this show is join up at leecamp.net, my locals page. Scroll down to become a supporter. Use promo code for a free month. Use promo code LeeCampFree, one word, all caps. LeeCampFree will get you a free month and my latest ebook for free. Okay, let's keep going here. So the other day, and I think it happened maybe even during my live stream on Wednesday, but so I couldn't cover it because it was happening during my live stream. But a Dallas ICE facility was shot up, and 2 detainees were killed, and another one was injured. And this was done similar to the Charlie Kirk thing. This was done by a sniper. This was not someone who was being detained, having a gun that they didn't know about and trying to escape or something. This is a sniper going to an ICE facility and shooting at people with a rifle and then killing themselves. Now, you hear that and your first thought is, this is someone who hates ICE, right? Because a lot of us across this country hate ICE. We should be furious at what they're doing. That does not mean, obviously, shooting at them, but it's understandable. Oh, did I miss a... Oh, wow, I missed a super chat. Thank you, Arlene. That means so much for supporting the show. Thank you, Arlene. Arlene wants to know if it helps the channel if you let ads play. It does, but just by a tiny amount. So that's why I don't push that on people. It's like, yes, if all of you were to let ads play, every time you watch the show, then that would add up. But in terms of like letting one here and the one there, it's just not enough for it to be a big deal. It's a few cents here and a few cents there. So that's why I don't push it. Also, I don't always know what the ads are, so I don't want you to be fucking accosted by pro oil ads or whatever the hell they might be playing. So that's why I've never said please let the ads play. But yeah, obviously, if everyone did it, it would make a difference. But I don't really. I'm so anti-ad in general that I really don't want to force that on you. Everybody, you sit there and you take in the ads. If you like this show, let that shit corrupt your brain, okay? Advertising shits in your brain, and you should let it shit in your brain for me. Yeah, I can't. That's not really. That's me. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going though. So anyway, let's see. But then when I heard about this, the ice shooting, I kind of found it odd that it was 3 detainees hit, 2 of them killed, and it was like, even if you're an amateur sniper, even if you like, there's 2 options here. The guy was a terrible sniper and was aiming for ice and kept missing. But if that's the case, it seems like if you were that bad at being a sniper, you'd probably miss everybody. Like, what are the odds you kill 2 detainees and don't hit ice at all? It just seems odd. It seems like someone who kind of wanted to kill detainees, considering they hit 3 detainees and killed 2 of them. But then it gets even more complicated because one of the bullet casings says anti-ice written on it. Anti-ice. So here, I think, is the best rundown I've found. Ken Klippenstein for some reason, Ken Klippenstein's like beat is like being able to speak to, getting a hold of manifestos right after someone's killed someone, or being able to speak to their friends immediately. I mean, I think he does a ton of research to get those contacts. Anyway, here's what Ken Klippenstein is reporting. The deadly sniper attack on a Dallas ice facility this morning seems straightforward, with anti-ice engraved on unused bullets recovered from the scene, per the FBI. There's a photo of the bullets saying anti-ice. But after interviewing several of the alleged shooters' former friends, the picture isn't so clear. President Trump responded to the shooting by blaming the radical left, vowing to sign another executive order to dismantle what he called domestic terrorism networks. This comes at the heels of another executive order he signed this week designating Antifa a domestic terrorist organization, which of course is laughable, but it doesn't matter if it's laughable. If Trump's doing this shit, it has ramifications. Another red flag of this anti-ice shooting is that if you were to list, and I had this on the latest Unredacted tonight, you can literally watch it after we finish up here. If you were to list all of the left-wing, like murderous violent sprees, like truly left-winger, of the past. Wow, thank you, Steve. Big donation. Really appreciate it. Steve says no one watched the ads. I got you. Love it. Well, hell, if I'm going to get those kind of donations, then everybody has to watch the ads unless we get more donations like this. No, thank you, Steve, so much for supporting the show. But if you were to list all of the left wing, like true murderous violence, I don't mean property destruction. I don't mean people blocking a pipeline. I don't mean people burning, in the very rare occasion that they've burned a police department building in some way. I don't mean that. I mean legit murderous rampage done by a left winger, and we only go back 50 years. I'm not talking about what was going on in the 1800s in the United States. Anyway, if you were to list that, I think you'd list one person. We already know Tyler Robinson, who shot Charlie Kirk, is a very confusing story at minimum. There's a lot of question marks there, but what he actually stood for, I would not describe him as a leftist. I'm not even, I don't know anyone who's really clear on exactly what he stood for. But the only one I've even been able to find in the past, 20, 30 years is the guy who shot Congressman Scalise in the congressional baseball game where he opened fire on a bunch of them. And apparently he had been a volunteer for Bernie Sanders. And supported Bernie heavily. I would love to hear if others have examples. Now, of course, you've got to put some guardrails on this. This isn't, it's not like anyone shoots anyone in America and then you find out their politics and, they happen to support the left wing. Like, that's not what we're talking. We're talking about legit going after people in government or corporate heads. And like, I don't, it's cause even take the one recently where the guy, he ended up killing a Blackstone executive, but he was going after the NFL for CTE. If you read what he was trying to do when he shot up that building in New York, it's not left-wing ideology. He just hated the NFL for covering up CTE and for giving him brain damage because he played college football. So you really can't find many. Even if there's one or two I'm missing that I somehow have forgotten about, you really can't find much. Because right-wingers are the type of people that are just far more likely to have a lot of gun experience, but view guns as the answer, and are far more likely to view killing as an answer. So it makes sense that they far more likely to think this is the way to go or a path to go. Anyway, let's keep going here with Ken Klippenstein. He says, I reached out to people who knew the gunman, 29-year-old Joshua John. 3 who knew him since at least middle school agreed to speak to me. Their accounts paint the picture of someone with a vaguely libertarian bent who despised both major parties and politicians generally, including Trump, but who didn't engage with politics beyond that. He preferred edgy humor, video games, and the message board 4chan, all of which he became increasingly steeped in as he withdrew from social life as well as their own friendships. None of his former friends believed that the anti-ICE inscription could possibly be sincere. Feeling such a serious political statement was anathema to who John was. His humor was deeply ironic, often offensive and aggressive to the point of alienation. Like, some of them said the reason they stopped being friends with him was because of his kind of horrible, offensive sense of humor. Here's a quote from one friend. He was most certainly an edgelord, an irony guy. Edgelord is online speak for someone who likes to espouse edgy, nihilistic views. Apparently, the kids are calling each other edgelords. I was not aware of that. The only way I've heard edging described has to do with like sex where you don't orgasm. So, if you were to call yourself an edgelord, it sounds like someone who I just spend hours just jacking myself. Like, so I'm confused by what the kids are into, to be honest with you. But apparently that is what they're calling each other these days. If you're into quote unquote edgy humor. But anyway, when asked about the inscription on the bullet, the friend said Josh was an edgelord who wanted someone to get blamed. I think he tried his best to write something goofy to rile people up. So he basically wanted to piss people off. And he figured this was a good way to do it. And to say that sounds kind of crazy and kind of not stable. Yeah, this guy was not stable. Assuming this whole thing isn't a giant false flag charade, but asked about the I did that. Another friend showed me a Facebook post describing how John had flooded his friends' comment sections with rape jokes. So awesome, dude. Just like I wish I was buddies with him because he just sounds so cool. Among the dozen or so usernames he used while playing video games for an endless number of hours was one reading #impeachment. When I asked if this wasn't a clear reference to anti-Trump politics, his friends recoiled at the idea that he would express opposition to Trump so sincerely and straightforwardly. Instead, they saw it as a part of his broader ironic persona, poking fun at anti-Trump resistance types. So he enjoyed basically making fun of people that took politics seriously, those who cared. I mean, if you are in a really bad place and you view life as kind of meaningless, which it seems like this guy is, then you would probably view those who have a passion for, creating change as idiots and wrong. And so this is not like this part of the psychology is not that shocking to me. Another friend said he was never really into politics, especially not politicians. He was into politics only in the 4chan sense, contrarian, provocative, boundary pushing for laughs, not conviction. He was becoming unbearable. Once he dropped out of college, he had no obligation to be social, and none of us reached out due to his edgelord behavior. I don't think that has to do with his edging behavior. And then they have a clip on here of apparently he attempted stand-up comedy one time and bombed. And the friend said the audio from his attempted stand-up routine where he bombs now resonates uncannily with the Joker, meaning the Joker movie, the more recent ones where it shows him being a completely disenchanted and rejected from society kind of guy. And he then goes on to shoot a talk show host on live television. That is what they're referring to. And of course, that is that. By the way, for those of you who want to know a little film history, that first Joker, not the second one that was garbage, but the one with Joaquin Phoenix, the earlier one, is a quasi remake of the King of Comedy. So if you haven't seen the King of Comedy, you should look that up. Played by Robert De Niro. So Robert De Niro then plays the talk show host that's murdered by Joaquin Phoenix and then the Joker. King of Comedy, pretty good movie, but not about the Joker. It's just about a failed comedian who lives in his head and then, ends up taking it out on this talk show host. But so I think all told, to sum this guy up, is that if you try stand-up comedy once, you will go insane. Is what I see here. That's what we're saying here. I have not listened to his stand-up comedy attempt. Here's the thing, not really, because I'm scared of listening to a guy who thinks rape jokes are funny and ended up murdering people. It's just bad, like failed bombing comedy. As someone who spent 25 years doing stand-up, is just too painful for me. I can't do that to myself. It's just, yeah. When you've done thousands upon thousands of stand-up comedy shows, you just can't handle that anymore. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'll watch a lot of grim things for this live stream to bring you guys the truth. I can't do that though. So, but of course it doesn't, it almost doesn't matter what the reality is of what this shooter believed. Instead, what matters is what we're told by the Trump administration, because that's going to be the thing with the ramifications. Like, Trump is going to use this to enact even more fascistic censorship laws in order to arrest more people, in order to declare more things terrorist organizations. Antifa literally stands for anti-fascist. And now if you support anti-fascism, you are a terrorist, which as many people have pointed out, if you are anti-Antifa, then what does that make you? It makes you pro-fa, makes you a fucking fascist. Okay. Let's keep going here. Running out of time. This is definitely a sad story, but I think one that has not gotten enough coverage is even I have missed it for several days now, because it has been I think it's been over 10 days since this happened. Family of black student found hanging from a tree in Mississippi is demanding answers. And I think the reason this story is important to me is because it has gotten so little coverage. It's like we see other horrific things happening in our society and they get endless coverage. Then we see, something like this happening in our society and it gets almost zero coverage. At Delta State University on Wednesday, there were few signs of the tragedy that befell the campus this week and disrupted the beginning of the new school year. The body of Trey Reed, a 21-year-old black student, was found hanging from a tree on campus Monday. Reed's death has ignited calls for justice and online speculation that he was the victim of a lynching, even though authorities have said there was no evidence of foul play. But what I'm really curious about, which is not in this article, was there evidence of that this was suicide? Like it's not always easy to get up in a tree on your own. If there's no evidence that this was suicide, then that is evidence of foul play, isn't it? Anyway. Reed's death has ignited calls for justice and online speculation that he was a victim of lynching. I already did that. Families of other black men who have been found hanging in Mississippi were determined to have died by suicide are also questioning their official causes of death. So this is not the only one. And to just pretend that it seems incredibly odd that a black person understanding the history of this country, understanding the history of racism in this country, what a horror show it's been, and the connection to trees particularly, and lynching particularly, it seems very unlikely that a black person would choose to take their life in this way, considering the options open to them if someone is considering doing that horrible thing, which, the algorithm already despises me. I suppose I don't need to say that word a million times, but it's just really seems odd that a black person would think that's the way they want to go. Anyway, Mira Brown, who was on campus Wednesday to visit her younger sister. Oh, she said the same thing I just said. Just given the historical significance of trees, black men, and ropes, there's just something about it to me that isn't right. A preliminary examination showed no evidence that Reed was physically attacked. More details will be released after the Mississippi State Crime Lab conducts an autopsy. I'm going to let you guys guess on how reliable the Mississippi State Crime Lab is. Even if it's gotten better in recent years, I still think there might be a little bit of bias when it comes to the Mississippi State Crime Lab looking at these things. It is certainly easy for them to cover up a couple of bruises and say that this was him taking his own life. Anyway, I just think that story it should be nationally and far more national coverage. It shouldn't be one little article buried in the back of NBC News. And I will say I don't watch CNN and NBC endlessly, so I don't, or almost at all. So I don't know whether it's getting wall-to-wall coverage. I seriously doubt it, though. Real quick, before we get to some updates on Israel's genocidal efforts, the former head of the FBI was just indicted. Like I said at the beginning of this show, this is one of these stories where this would be just cover of every website, every news site for days. If it weren't the Trump administration, where this is like, oh, sure, this is indicted the former head of the FBI. And this is Trump going after his political enemies, right? But at the same time, and this is the part the mainstream media won't give you, also this guy's, I would say he's corrupt. I mean, Comey is a guy who 1 minute reopens the case against Hillary Clinton, and at first Hillary Clinton blamed that for her defeat. He reopened it like a week before the election. But then Hillary Clinton and the Democrats realized that going after the FBI was probably a bad look, probably tough to do that. So they switched to Russia. They decided, Russia sunk her election and rigged the election. And then Comey went from becoming the most despised dude in the liberal world because he ruined Hillary Clinton's chances to becoming the hero of the liberal world because he wrote a book saying Trump is a horrible person. So he is now this liberal icon of like resistance, hashtag resistance. And that is why he is one of the reasons he is Trump's enemy. A federal grand jury indicted Mr. Comey on Thursday on one count of making a false statement and one count of obstruction of congressional proceedings in connection with his testimony to the Senate committee in September 2020. It's also funny, the idea that these guys can be prosecuted for giving false statements. That's their job. That's like all they do. The FBI and CIA, as Mike Pompeo, former head of the FBI, former head of the CIA, said, we lied, cheat, and stole all the time. We took whole classes on lying, cheating, and stealing. So that's what they are. And that's what they do, is lie to all of us endlessly. But they're going to indict him for lying. The indictment provided no details about evidence that the prosecutors were used in trial. The indictment asserts that Mr. Comey lied when he testified to senators in 2020 that he had not authorized anyone in the FBI to leak information to the news media about a bureau investigation into an unnamed person. But it was not even clear what episode the indictment refers to. The Justice Department would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Comey intended to lie to the Senate committee, not just that he got something wrong. So they have to prove that he meant to lie and didn't just have a whoopsie daisy. And so it seems highly unlikely, not to mention that the system generally protects its own. Trump is trying to change that in order to make it so the system just protects him. But they generally protect their own. And so the system is, most of the system right now is going to work to make sure Comey never spends time in jail. Now, there's a million other things that FBI, head of the FBI, should be in jail for, should be in prison for. None of that matters because that all served the ruling elite. What he did here served a portion of the ruling elite, but not that portion that's in power right now. So Trump wants to go after his political enemies, which, you know, I can feel both things. I can feel it's hilarious that goons like Comey aren't in prison all of the time. And I can also see that this is Trump going after his political enemies, which is one of the signs of fascism, is a guy who centers all the power on himself and tries to shift the systems so that they only bolster him and go after any perceived enemies. So it can be both those things. They sound like they should be opposites, but they're not. Okay, let's get to Israel for these last few minutes before I'm going to bring an extra segment to all of you over at Locals. And you can join it for free right now. Go to leecamp.net, click Become a Supporter, use promo code LeeCamp, free, one word, and you can get that extra segment. That extra segment is going to be on Tucker Carlson and some of his revelations, or some of the things he's been talking about with 9/11 and the insider trading that went on before 9/11 happened, just before 9/11 happened. Anyway, I will be bringing that as a special segment to everybody who supports this show. Thank you for making this show possible. But let's do this real quick. Genocide in Gaza. At least 38 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks across Gaza so far today. This is yesterday, I believe. Over the past 24 hours, at least 83 Palestinians were killed, 216 injured. 7 Palestinians were killed and 50 injured while seeking aid, because Israel literally attacks people seeking aid, which is, I mean, it's all horrific. There's really nothing Israel's doing that's not horrific. But Israel has struck 170 targets in Gaza in one day. I believe that's, 24 hours. 170 targets Israel is obliterating in Gaza in one 24-hour span. Here is one of Drop Site's journalists that is in Gaza. They have a bunch of contributors in Gaza, which is how they get so much information. And her name is Rasha Abu Jalal. She said, there are no longer any means of sustaining life. She gives her most recent account of her family's forced departure from Gaza City on foot after Israeli airstrikes made the city unlivable. If the main, and Gaza City, even just a month or two ago, it was like a million, close to a million Palestinians, and there's only Gazans, and there's only 1.8 or 1.9 left alive in Gaza. So that means over half of the Palestinian population in Gaza was in Gaza City, and now Israel's making Gaza City unlivable. So it means over half of the remaining Palestinians are forced to leave or stay there and possibly get hit by missiles. Anyway, she said, if the main hospital in Gaza couldn't even provide stitches and gauze to patch up a small injury, how would we manage if one of us were severely wounded? She said, describing her 7-hour, 15-kilometer trek to Nazareth. Now living in a tent on the roadside, she added, every day I send my devices to a charging point that's 300 meters away. It takes about 6 hours for them to charge. This greatly hinders my journalistic work. And of course, she's speaking from the angle of a journalist, but this is true for anyone in Gaza. If you have to send your devices, away for 6 hours to get any charge to do work, and of course, that's not even talking about the starvation and the food, lack of food and everything. Israel has outlined strict conditions. So this is now we move to an update on the West Bank, where Israel has forced 44,000 Palestinians out of where they live. Israel has outlined strict conditions for the return of the 44,000 displaced from Jenin, Tulkarem, and Nur Shams camps, including bans on political activity, security screenings, restrictions on UNRWA operations, and full Israeli oversight of infrastructure restoration. Not only are they trying to make sure that no one in the West Bank could fight back against them, but Israel wants to make life, again, almost unlivable, like the brink of unlivable. They're trying to make life fully unlivable in Gaza. In the West Bank, they're trying to make it seem like they're doing it for security still. But the truth is they want life to be so miserable and difficult. I mean, imagine if every day, just to go to work, you have to go through 5 Israeli checkpoints where IDF is standing there, and they might steal your passport, they might arrest you, or they might kill you, or they might beat you at any time. And that's your day-to-day. That's your daily movement. Like, the goal is to make life unlivable. Trump unveiled a 21-point U.S. framework for ending the Gaza war, because Trump knows exactly what he's doing, right? He unveiled it at the UN, winning backing from leaders of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, Indonesia, and Pakistan. The plan calls for a permanent ceasefire, release of captives, Israeli withdrawal, a post-Hamas governing body, an Arab-funded reconstruction with Arab leaders stressing no annexation, no occupation, and protection of Al-Aqsa. Trump will meet with Netanyahu at the White House on Monday. Trump envoy Steve Witkoff said that he was hopeful, even confident, of a Gaza ceasefire breakthrough. They say this every fucking week. They say they're so confident there's going to be a ceasefire. No, Israel's not stopping until they complete the genocide. Like, that's where things stand now. And the only way they're stopping is for the ability of Israel to function to become difficult, which, of course, you need the U.S. to back out and no longer support them or something of that sort. Of course, there are things that make functioning pretty difficult for Israel, like giant boycotts. But let's see. Also at the UN, the Iranian president, Pezeshkian, told journalists and anti-war advocates that Tehran has enacted new transfer of power protocols since the 12-day war. So he said, if they take me out, 5 or 6 steps down the line have been planned for. Iran is not Gaza. Iran is not Lebanon. Iran is not Syria. Iran is different. So basically he's saying that Israel took out a lot of of Iranian generals in this last attack on Iran. They also, Trump has murdered the top Iranian general back in his first term. Also, the president of Iran's helicopter mysteriously went into a mountain not that long ago. And so Iran has realized that Israel is taking out their leaders. And they have now put in place protocols so that as Israel takes out leaders, Iran will not be leaderless. And one last thing on Israel, the mother of Hind Rajab was evacuated from Gaza. This has been obviously a long process. Hind Rajab was killed, a year and a half ago. And her name is Wissam Hamada, the mother of Hind Rajab, and several members of her family safely evacuated from Gaza to a third country on Thursday after protracted negotiations with the state of Israel for her release. 5-year-old Hind was killed by Israeli soldiers in January 2024, along with 6 other members of her family in Gaza City. Her killing made global headlines. So it is good to know that that her mother got out, because I'm sure she is also, and anybody connected to that story is, I'm sure, a target for Israel and Israeli assassination. Okay, guys, I'm going to play a quick clip of last night's Unredacted Tonight. But after that, I will come back on. I'll then say goodbye to those of you who are not members and then play that Tucker Carlson extra segment about 9/11. Again, you can go watch that and all the extra segments for free if you just sign up at leecamp.net. When you get there, go to, let me see if I can show you this. Yeah, here we go. When you get there, scroll down to, don't click to become a member, because that's more confusing. Scroll down to become a supporter and click that. Then you can put this on monthly. $6 is the minimum. However, when you click the promo code right below that, put in Lee Camp Free, one word, all caps, and that will get you the first month for free. It will get you the extra segment I'm about to do for free. It will get you my newest ebook, Dangerous Ideas, for free. All of that. And you will be supporting my show, even if you cancel within the first month. Hope you'll do that. But all right. Here's a quick clip from last night's Unredacted Tonight about following the Epstein money trail. That was the main topic. And if you haven't watched it, I hope you will go watch it after this show is over. You can do that at leecamp.com/unredacted. That'll take you straight to the YouTube playlist. And yeah, let's do it. But I'm going to come back on after this clip. So, if you want to get to the bottom of the Jeffrey Epstein case, you have to follow the money. Of course, a lot of that money is covered up or obscured. Unless the banks reveal it, we can't find out where it came from and where it went. But we do know who has the answers. JP Morgan Chase, for one. Shocker. I would have thought it'd be a mom and pop, Bert's local bank around the corner. Really? They weren't the ones perpetrating the billionaire sex trafficking? Are you sure it wasn't Aunt Louisa's savings and loan? I would have thought it was them. In the early 2000s, Epstein was on his way to becoming one of J.P. Morgan's most important clients. A 2003 internal report pegged his net worth at about $300 million. So what the hell did he do to amass that kind of money? A J.P. Morgan report at the time noted that Epstein's occupation was advising wealthy individuals like Les Wexner, the billionaire operator of brands like Victoria's Secret and The Limited, though bank documents at the time did not list any other clients. Oh, I see. Epstein made hundreds of millions by advising Les Wexner. Of course he did. Hey, Les, yeah, you're not going to wear those slacks with those loafers. Absolutely not. That'll be $2 million, please. If you're paying hundreds of millions to someone for advice, then the best money management advice they could give you is stop paying me. What are you, lunatic? Don't pay me. That will be great for you. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Wexner was paying for a little bit more than advice. In 2003, Epstein withdrew more than 175 grand in cash from his JP Morgan accounts, a huge haul, even for someone with millions at the bank. Yeah, even millionaires don't normally need $175,000 in cash. What are they, down at the arcade playing Dance Dance Revolution every night, all night? Yeah. I'd like to withdraw 100 grand in quarters, please. Just small bags. If you're all right, there's a little clip from Unredacted tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll watch the whole episode. It comes out every Thursday, and considering how much my channel is suppressed, you'd have to just put that in your calendar and go watch it, 7 p.m. Eastern every Thursday. But you can obviously watch it anytime after that. Okay, to those of you who refuse to become free members over at LeeCamp.net, I bid you farewell. And to those of you who are on my Patreon, which patreon.com/LeeCamp, or on my locals, thank you, Dan, for supporting the show. Thank you, Western Goods, for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I will. I'll see you guys later. I'll be back Monday for another live stream, 3 p.m. Eastern. And for everybody at locals or Patreon, do not hang up the computers. Don't do it, because I got a